I'm Sienna. I'm the kid.
I'm Sarah. I'm the mom.
This is Queer Kid Straight Mom.
Let's talk. Welcome back to Queer Kids Straight Mom. Today we're talking about K-pop Demon Hunters and the interpretation of queer coding in it. We hope some to most of you have watched it or taken my suggestion to at least listen to the soundtrack because it's so good.
It is, I heard someone describe it as like, sometimes there will be a movie that's like, and then there's this song, and the song is so amazing that it changes the world. And then you listen to the song and you're like, but these are actually really good songs.
Yeah. If you haven't watched it or read anything about it, or are one of those people that, like, if you have heard too much about something, you actively avoid it,
or you're someone who hears the term K-pop and immediately looks upon it with derision.
I was about to say all of those things are valid, but we might judge you for them.
Well, the thing is, like, I also do the thing where I hear people talk about something and I'm
oh, yeah, for sure that
too
one.
Much. But
maybe I was just talking about the last one.
I'm just I do think it also silly because then it stops me from enjoying really good media. Like I didn't watch Stranger Things for so long because it's so stupid and overrated.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes things are overrated. Sometimes it's actually not that good.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story, just like chill out a little bit.
Yeah, that. Just like really in general. Except it's hard right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you are not familiar with it, like it really is a K-pop group that are demon hunters. Yes, group of 3 girls. And to keep the forces of the demons at bay, because if they get too many souls, if they get too much traction in like the real world, whatever, the not demon world, they can start to overpower it and take over.
And like there's kind of a backstory that like when the hunters first emerged, that they created the Honmoon, which is like a shield between the demon world and the human world. And their goal is to create the golden Honmoon, which like basically permanently cuts the demons out of the human world. That's like the big goal of all the successive generations of demon hunters.
Right. And it's like a energy shield, sort of.
Yeah.
If picture. And then the demons, like whenever they start getting more powerful, it starts like eating away at the energy shield. One of the characters has a secret.
I'm going to say we go ahead and tell people, like, spoiler alert. But yes, like, Rumi is part demon because honestly, that comes out in the first 10 minutes of the movie. And like,
yeah, it's true. Okay, so yeah, they're demon hunters. So she does not want to tell her friends because she is terrified that they will judge her and think that she is evil.
Well, and like her aunt, who has kind of raised her, has told her repeatedly, like, no one can ever know about this. You just have to keep it hidden until, you create the golden Honmoon, and then all the demons will be gone. So that means that you won't be part of demon anymore either.
Very like Frozen with the gloves.
Conceal, don't feel.
Conceal, don't feel. Thank you.
Like, spiritually, this movie is very similar to Frozen. Artistically, it's not, and plot-wise, it's completely different, but the characters have a really similar journey. And it has really similar themes.
Yeah. So in the movie, this demon has this plan that if he and some other demons form this K-pop boys group, they can attract all these fans and kind of put them under their spell, and then they can like steal all of their souls.
Because Huntrix, which is the K-pop group that Rumi and or the other 2 demon hunters are part of, Huntrix gets their power from their fans and like the joy that they bring to the world. Like that's kind of what the energy that stops demons is.
The story basically is this like rivalry develops between these 2 K-pop groups, and there's a sort of not quite but almost love story between Rumi and the male demon Jinu. And
it's quite funny because, like, based on everything else I saw about the movie, I was expecting the love story to be a more significant part of it than it wasn't. Like, it was there, definitely, but it's not a huge element.
And here's where all of this gets to the queer-coded part. Even the duet that Rumi and Jinu sing together is focused more on when I'm with you, I can be myself and I feel like I'm coming back to life and I can let the walls down. And that I just think is even the love song is very much focused on,
it's literally called Free.
Yeah, we could be free. So you're seeing the weight of these people trapped in shame, right? The whole underlying demon element we feel is a metaphor for shame.
Right, because the thing that lets the demon lord, Kuima, control all the demons, control Genu, for instance, even though Genu doesn't like want to help him, is like the shame that they all feel from the bad things that they've done. And so that's also what ends up hurting Rumi, right? Is that like it's the weight of carrying the secret that she feels ashamed of, like the patterns that show that she's half demon, like spread to her voice. And like that's the shame, that's the big secret. And so Kuima can't control her, but like it's still that shame that is taking away her ability to fight the demons.
And this is much easier to talk about if you have seen it. So hopefully you followed along with that if you hadn't. But
if you didn't follow along, just pause the podcast, go log on to Netflix, go get a free trial of Netflix if you don't have Netflix, and watch the movie, and then come back.
Okay. The songs, there's such an underlying message of being your true self, getting to be your true self at last, right? Golden has that whole sort of, now it's our time to just be ourselves, right? And like I said, the duet, but we can be free. The song that I can't stop thinking about is This Is What It Sounds Like, which is the song that Rumi sings at the end of the movie when she has basically, everybody has found out, everything feels like it's falling apart. And she has this conversation with her aunt who says, you have to fight this. That moment, oh, what did Rumi say? Why couldn't you just love me? This is not a villain character. The aunt is not a villain character. She's a kind woman. And yet Rumi has been raised by her feeling like, you don't love me. I can't be who I really am. You don't love the person that I really am. You want me to be the person that you think is safer for me to be, which if you are the parent of a queer kid, you have had, I guess I cannot speak for everybody, but it is likely at some point you have had the moment where you have thought, I just want the world to be safer for my kid. It's such a powerful reminder of how even when it is us wanting to protect our kids, that can feel so hurtful and damaging to our kids. If they sense, I just wish you were different so the world would be kinder to you. That comes from a good place. If it's genuine, I think that there are a lot of people who say that because they just don't want their kids to be gay, but that feels like an acceptable thing to say. But yeah, I mean, that part really stood out to me because of that sort of parental role and that sort of like, but I can't pretend anymore. This is who I am and this is who I have to be. And Rumi finding her power and her belonging through finally accepting who she is. So she goes to the stadium and she goes out and she starts singing this song.
And she's literally glowing rainbow,
which is amazing, by the way. Aesthetically, it's very pretty. It's a great movie. And every time I listen to it, I just get chills and tear up because I imagine it from the context of a kid saying this to their parent. My voice without the lies, this is what it sounds like. It's so powerful. It's such a, I don't know. I just think it's like expressed beautifully. That was the mom view of all, like the metaphor throughout. How do you interpret it as the actual queer person?
Well, very similarly. I think the interesting thing to me also is just the way, like all these songs are so effective, right? Because they have their own story within them and they stand on their own as songs that you could just hear on the radio, but they also fit into the movie so well and fit into the message of the overall film. I just think they're exceptional songs in terms of like, again, their craft as individual songs, but also as part of a narrative. And so one really interesting thing about the songs in the movie is like the give and take between like kind of anger and fear and shame. And then, yeah, this positive, this is me, this is like who I am, and I'm happy with that and I'm proud of it. And that the decision to embrace that message over a more angry or hateful one, not saying that, you can't fight back against forces of darkness, but also that it has to be stemming from a place of love for yourself and the people around you, that it can't be motivated by, I'm just angry about everything. And I think that's a really powerful message as well. It's underscoring the importance of community. And what gives Quima power towards the end of the film is when, the Hanmoon has started kind of falling apart and he's able to get through more and more and influence all the people and influence all of especially Saja Boy's fans, because the Saja Boys, the demon boy band, are like kind of this conduit for demonic power. So through them, he's spreading this message of like, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not beautiful enough, you're not whatever.
Yeah, like that's kind of how they first get into people's heads. It's like planting self-doubt.
Right. And that, they sort of fall into this trap of like, oh, it's easier to just go along. And then you have this song, Your Idol, which is my personal favorite from the movie, just because, again, of how incredibly effective it is on like multiple levels. It fits into the movie so well because it has, it has little things like, the pain and the shame, keep it all inside, which is almost a direct quote of something. I forget what the aunt's words were exactly. The aunt basically tells Rumi something almost exactly like, don't let people see your fear and your feelings and your weaknesses. And then, that's like what the other members of the band say back to Rumi when her voice is having trouble. And then it pops up in the lyrics of Your Idol. And it's like, oh, this is actually the message that helps them. Also, it simultaneously is like a commentary on the nature of fandom, which is something that we've talked about on this podcast before, that there's kind of like this dual nature to fandom and to fan culture of like, on the one hand, it can be so empowering for people and so positive, and people can be like being, role models, and that can be really great. And also on the other hand, it can be really toxic because, setting aside all of like the toxic ways that fans behave, it also, creates parasocial relationships where people think, oh, you're actually my friend. You want to help me personally. And like, no, these like people don't know each other. And I think Your Idol is commenting really specifically on that dynamic. And so you then set up Saja Boys and Huntrix as these opposing forces, not just in the context of the movie as like humanity versus demons, but also as positive fan culture versus toxic fan culture. Yeah, it's just so layered. And it's one of those things that, you watch it the first time and you're like, oh, cute little kids movie with like such a positive message and it's so pretty. And then you like listen to the music and you watch it a couple more times and you're like, oh, there are so many layers to this.
Yeah. And like when we first talked about this topic, I was thinking like, but are people going to interpret that as like, oh, she's part demon and that's the big secret she has to hide? So does that mean, are people going to interpret that as, if this is a metaphor, that queerness is like demon, right? That it's like this evil thing. And the more we talked about it, like, no, it's shame, because that's what the demon, the big head demon feeds off of. And
it's what lets him control people. Right. The way that he's able to control Genu is not Genu's a bad guy and so therefore he answers to the demon lord. It's that Quima can literally like magnify the shame he feels about the bad things that he's done in the past.
And so the evil, the darkness, the demon element is the shame that parents put on kids when they create an atmosphere, an environment where, and parents and society in general, but like most importantly, starting with family. I can't accept you the way you are, that you are not okay, that there's something wrong with you. We need to hide this. We need to change this. We need to fix this. That is the demon voice creeping in. That is the message, that there's something wrong with you. And that's what, this K-pop group, Huntrix, they're very joyful and they bring a lot of joy to their fans and everything's just kind of bright and fun and funny and sparkly. And that is what, it's like when you go to Pride and there's so much joy, people being in a setting where they are allowed to just be who they are without somebody telling them that it's wrong, that it's bad. And so that's, we're seeing like the juxtaposition of what it's like to be in each of those places.
I mean, I think another great thing about the way this film works is, again, like it's definitely a movie that is made for kids, which is fine and good, but it's kind of like Inside Out in that it's a really helpful literalization, right? Inside Out is like gives you a way of telling kids, oh, sadness is just taking control, and sometimes we don't know why, but that doesn't mean that sadness is going to be in control forever, or that that's a bad thing, or that sometimes memories can have two sets of feelings attached to them, and that's okay. Similarly, right, you see in the film Kuima literally like taking over people's heads and being like, you're not good enough for this reason. You're too much. And that's, I think, such a helpful tool to be able to give kids to say, like, that's not you talking, that's your demon voice. And you can choose not to listen to it.
And, I think it's interesting that, Genu has this idea of forming the band and getting more people's souls because he's just trying to make a bargain to like, let me forget, let me not feel this shame all the time. When Genu starts to connect with Rumi, Kuima starts like doubling down his efforts, right? Because he's like, wait a second, they're seeing something in each other. They're giving each other a voice. They're letting each other find the goodness inside each other. And he doesn't want that, he does not want that to happen because that hurts his goal. And I just think about the voices that are out there, like powerful people. No, we don't want you to feel sympathy for gay people. We don't want you to humanize trans people. We have to keep this sense of good and evil because it is part of a purpose. It is part of keeping the order of the world the way these voices want it to be.
Well, and there are all sorts of incentive structures behind that, right? That, there are politicians who want to keep feeding into that sense of fear and shame because it keeps them in power. There are social media companies really benefit off of conflict and dehumanization and anger. And I mean, from a Marxist analysis standpoint, the argument would be that it benefits the very upper class, the owning class, to have people at their throats over things like, their sexual orientation or their gender identity or their religion or whatever, because that means that, they don't realize, wait a minute, we actually have a lot more in common with each other than we do with like those billionaires who own everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a whole nother layer of, I feel like, societal commentary there. I don't know. It's just really good. And it's like Sienna was saying about Inside Out or, those kinds of movies that are made for younger people now that you can watch it with your kids or, you don't have to watch it together if your kids are a little older, but that you can really talk about it with a wide range of kids, depending on how many layers you want to dig up. There's a lot of like good talking points, I think, throughout the years. And if your kids are in high school, like if, they've watched it or whatever, like just maybe watch it on your own and just like bring it up sometime and see what they think. And, like, did they pick up on any of these things or whatever? And it is, as adults, it is something you'll actually enjoy. I love these movies that like adults can enjoy as well.
I also think that this would be like a great kind of entry point for parents who maybe would like to be a little bit more open-minded about their kids, but feel a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of actually watching a movie with queer main characters together, or parents who would maybe like to encourage their kids themselves to be a little bit more open-minded. That it's not in your face, right? It's not like it's explicitly queer. It just has a lot of aspects that you can kind of dig into.
Yeah, and like conversation starters, right? Like, oh, wow, this is like really interesting how these scars like sort of represent this thing that she's ashamed of about herself or that she's been told she has to hide and she feels like she can't be who she is. Have you ever felt that way?
Who do you think might feel that way?
Yeah. Really good way to maybe if you're like, I don't know, I feel like my kid might be like wishing they could talk to me about this, but being afraid to say it or, it might be a great way to start a conversation.
Or if you have young family members whose parents are not very accepting, but you would like to provide them with a piece of media that is very welcoming and mind-opening without, again, actively being offensive to homophobic or transphobic people, this would be a great one.
Yeah, I think kids can watch a lot of those messages and start applying them to things around them. especially if they're being taught how to do that in their classes, which may be soon a thing of the past. But
I mean, you can like it's planting the seeds, right? It's here is a value structure. You might not yet know how to apply it to different social issues, but you still have that value structure.
it's very good. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have any feedback, let us know. If you have any like, oh, and what about this? Like things that you notice or pick up on, or tell us for sure, because as you can tell, we really like analyzing this movie. And it is just like fun music to listen to as well.
Next week, in a very similar vein, actually, we're going to be talking about the Hotel Transylvania movies, of which there are 4 currently, I think.
Because it's almost October, and so it's almost spooky season. And we're excited to talk about Halloween and monster-themed movies.
And honestly, like Hotel Transylvania is a lot more positive than a lot of the other queer-related, scary, spooky season monster movies.
True.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about, basically just imagine this episode, but about Hotel Transylvania.
So if you haven't seen it, at least watch the first one so you'll know the characters. But they're funny. They're good. It'll be a little more lighthearted again because I think that we all could use a little bit of pop culture analysis escapism right now.
Yeah.
Stay sane out there. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
If you found this episode interesting, informative, amusing, please review and follow us on your podcasting platform of choice. Getting those reviews and follows really helps us show up more in the algorithm and be able to reach more people to help them. You can find us on social media, Instagram and Threads at queerkid.straightmom, Blue Sky at qksm.bsky.social, and Facebook at queerkidstraightmom. We are no longer on Twitter.